The debate is nearing its end. Medius maintains her confident smile. Authority seems quite tense. Lipus has completely lost her previous confidence, after the first round of debate. Lipus, along with her symbol, received a rather low result. Lipus's support rate is 8. Authority, appearing with his familiar clock symbol, fared slightly better, authority 35. And finally, with an overwhelming percentage, Medius at 57%, the opinion poll ended. A map of the continents appeared with sparse bright spots. In addition, some heroes who previously supported Lipus declared their switch to supporting Medius. That's the masked person from China, Mianji. And also the person from South America, Hassan. The podium, the dazzling center of the press conference, was lit day and night. Faced with this situation, Lipus held a press conference. She pleaded in her speech, hoping to regain the support of the people. I listened to what Medius said in the debate. I spent too much time in dialogue with authority and couldn't refute Medius's points at the time. The reporters listened silently and attentively to her presentation, silently making their assessments. Lipus added, a high school student lacking social experience, what standard does she use to decide life or death? Lipus expressed her displeasure at this issue. She's just as dangerous as authority, that's an affirmation. After criticizing Medius, Lipus continued. The scene shifts to another luxurious room. Lipus enters solemnly, pleading slightly, everyone. Inside were people who once supported her but now support Medius, Mianji, Karfagar, and Hassan. Karfagar asked her in a low voice, why did you call me here? Lipus, without hesitation, stated her long-held concerns. Don't pretend you don't know. Why did you choose that high school student? Hassan indifferently replied, simple. He raised his eyebrows slightly, implying that I had a feeling there was no other reason. Lipus paused and said hesitantly, that's how you are, but... She looked at the woman opposite her, slightly incredulous, and asked Mianji, I didn't expect her to make such a choice. A man's figure appeared between them. Ji Yuj, Lipus softly said, if your master, Mr. Ji Yuj, knew about this, he would be very sad. Mianji finally spoke, our master. She recalled the past, that moonlit night, when butterflies fluttered through the air. Mr. Ji Yuj looked up, thoughtfully saying, this world is very complicated, Mianji. He stared at the butterfly in front of him, his voice soft as the breeze. Things once considered right can become wrong over time, and vice versa. It happens quite often. Ji Yuj and Mianji stood amidst the flower garden. He finally looked at her. To be frank, in the past I killed many villains. Mianji was slightly startled by his sudden words. Ji Yuj was still lost in his memories. He saw himself standing calmly among hundreds of corpses. Ji Yuj continued, the reason is very simple, because at that time I thought it was right. Another figure appeared in that scene, Rausa. Ji Yuj's voice suddenly carried a hint of nostalgia, but after meeting Rausa, my thoughts changed. However, I still don't think my current point of view is absolutely correct. He looked towards Mianji, advising, Mianji, in this world, there is no single right answer. However, no matter what circumstances arise, try your best to adapt to them. As long as you've done your best, that's enough. Ji Yuj's words still echoed in Mianji's mind. Her gentle voice filled the room. He often said things like that. Mianji reasonably told Lipus, therefore, after listening to the entire debate and looking at the current situation, I think that it's not Lipus, but Medius who is suitable to become the president of the association. Lipus was stunned, unable to respond to Mianji's words, just standing there stiffly. Karfagar showed hesitation in his words, Lipus, we don't support you. He politely continued, during the election period, please limit your meetings with us. Lipus bowed her head in silence, wondering what to do to change the current situation. In contrast to her situation, Medius always appeared radiant. She was surrounded by countless bright lights. After the first round of debate ended, the entire media began to focus on reporting about Medius. The newspaper featured Medius's picture with sensational headlines, exclusive news. These were articles about her school days. And articles exploring Medius and her family, articles about her family. And articles about the latest election information. The pictures of Medius and Utoritai were on the front page, articles about their confrontation. Medius's image was all over the newspapers. Among the sensational news about the pavilion master, the most prominent was Medius with her enigmatic smile. Along with that was a question that piqued the curiosity of a large audience, what exactly is her power? Utoritai opened his eyes wide. carefully examining the information. On the screen in front of him was a magnified image of Medius during the election debate. It was a video recording detailing every expression and gesture of Medius that day. Utorotai stared intently at the screen, seemingly wanting to extract information about this mysterious girl from the short clip. He paid more attention to her facial expressions, especially her bright purple eyes. Suddenly, Utoratai's eyes widened as if he had discovered a hidden detail. The silent room finally had a sound, humph. Utoratai was shocked to realize the truth. He softly muttered, "So that's it." At the same time, at Sinka's base, Canis cautiously spoke, "Sinka-sama, haven't you felt that life has become repetitive and boring lately?" Gato expressed agreement, "I agree." Sinka sighed, "So humans feel that way too." She raised her hand to stroke her chin, "It's not just me who thinks so, right?" On the other side, a hat with an intricate emblem appeared. That was the hat worn by Sungwon. He sat in a corner of the house, lonely and bored, lifting his eyes to stare at the brim of his hat, silently lost in thought. In the ruined area, a piercing scream rang out, "Uaa!" A young boy, tears streaming down his face, cried out miserably, "I'm so bored, I can't take it anymore, I'm dying of boredom." That was Freya-Tua, the one with the special system. Images of him flashed, from childhood, youth, adulthood to old age. His life only lasted a week, and he relived his life from beginning to end every week. Currently, he was in his vibrant teenage years. Freya-Tua was lying down, rolling around and screaming. Standing around him were Natura, Pekiniu, a Swede, and Vidi. Freya-Tua yelled, "When will I be able to go out?" Natura smiled gently. "Sinka-sama said that you should wait a little longer because a variable has occurred. Please be patient." Vidi was writing something while softly muttering, "What an interesting ability, I feel an overwhelming surge of inspiration." Freya-Tua softly called out. Natura immediately looked to see what he wanted. Freya-Tua excitedly said, "Let's go out for a while." A worried voice rang out in the ruined area, "If Sinka finds out, she'll be furious." Another naive voice replied reassuringly, "As long as we're not discovered, it'll be fine." Freya-Tua waved his arms, trying to persuade Natura, "We'll just go to the nearby village for a bit, it's no big deal." Natura looked at Freya-Tua's eager and expectant face. After considering it for a moment, he finally compromised, "All right, it's been a long time since I've felt nature." Freya-Tua joyfully exclaimed, "Wonderful, wonderful, Natura, you're the best." Natura turned to ask the others, "What about you guys?" Pekiniu hesitantly refused, "Oh, no, I'm too scared to go outside, I'm not going anywhere." Vidi closed his eyes, drew a few circles in the air with his pen, and said, "I don't want to either. In comics, characters who go out on their own usually die first." Freya-Tua grumbled, "What bad luck." Natura raised her hand to invite, "What about a Swede-san?" A Swede was a little hesitant. Oh, then he suddenly remembered Sinka's terrifyingly angry face. Thinking of this, he fell silent, no longer having the energy to continue the discussion. A Swede cleverly refused, "Go on, I don't feel very well." Natura still smiled, "Oh really?" Freya-Tua, slightly deflated, muttered, "Such weakness." Now, mist shrouded everything, and the lush green forest seemed gloomier than usual. Green canopies and miles of vegetation stretched in every direction. From the ground, a series of tremors emerged. Natura and Freya-Tua were standing on a towering branch, comfortably observing the space below. They both jumped from the branch to the ground, their relaxed joy evident on their faces. "Ah, it's been a long time since I felt the scent of nature, this power is really convenient." Freya-Tua quickly suggested, "Let's just go to the nearby village." They were happily chatting when they suddenly noticed something approaching. These were representative heroes from various regions, each radiating a furious killing intent. Mienji wasn't wearing his usual mask, revealing the patterns printed on his face. Hassan and Karfagar both carried weapons, as if they were about to enter a life-or-death battle. Especially behind them was Medius, her violet eyes intensified her cold expression. Freya-Tua and Natura were momentarily paralyzed by those waves of killing intent. What are those things? Utoritai was moving hurriedly on this side. His secretary followed closely behind him. She asked, "Is it about the press conference?" "Yes," he replied. Utoritai finally made a decision that shocked his secretary. "I intend to accept Medius's challenge." "What?" The secretary broke out in a cold sweat, confirming again, Are you joking, sir? I'm not joking, this is the only way I can win. Utoritai's words suddenly trailed off, he seemed to have realized something, so that's it. On Utoritai's tense face, it was clear that Medius was not someone to be trifled with. This didn't seem to be her first such debate, so she possesses such a formidable ability. How can we possibly win? What do you mean? Utoritai seemed to know about Medius's hidden power. Meanwhile, the battle between the Natura brothers and the representative heroes was a chaotic mess. Freya Tua was seriously injured in many places, blood was all over her body. Natura was a little better, but still miserable. Together, Medius just stood behind and watched, but her killing intent was the strongest. On this side, Utoritai revealed Medius's shocking ability, she could reverse time. Medius's indifferent expression made it hard to believe she possessed such a terrifying ability. The secretary asked in astonishment, "You can reverse time?" Utoritai turned and confirmed, speaking with certainty. No wonder the argument kept going off track. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He gritted his teeth, saying, "She's rewound the argument countless times and changed the future to her advantage." Hearing this, the secretary asked, "Then how can we defeat her?" Utoritai slowly replied, "Luckily, she has a weakness." He glanced at his secretary, "Look at what I sent you." She immediately looked at her iPad screen. Utoritai calmly asked, "Do you see anything different?" The screen showed Medius. The first scene looked normal, but in the second scene, a subtle change appeared. The ends of her hair were different, a deep purple appeared, and her hair seemed to lengthen slightly. After watching for a moment, the secretary seemed to understand, replying, "Her hair grew a little longer." "I think so, right?" Utoritai's gaze remained calm but meaningful, as if he had seen through the entire secret. He emphasized again, "Yes." He calmly continued, "Why do you think that is?" The secretary, hesitating slightly, offered her guess, "Because she has too many dark thoughts." At this answer, he paused for a second, then reacted with dissatisfaction, "Are you kidding me?" Utoritai discovered another secret. Although this woman could reverse the time of everything around her, she couldn't do it to herself, he said with certainty. He then recalled an image of Medius being injured, using it as an example for his clueless secretary, meaning, if she were injured, she couldn't reverse the injury. Utoritai affirmed his understanding that she would return to the past with that injury. Getting to this point, he thought triumphantly, "So when I accept her challenge, I know I'll win." The secretary worriedly asked, "But someone who can control the flow of time would also be physically strong." He quickly reminded her, "Have you forgotten?" Utoritai revealed a ferocious expression, saying, "I also possess the ability to control time." The secretary's eyes widened in astonishment, speechless. Utoritai's voice remained even, stating plainly, "I've controlled time much longer than she has." He scoffed, his tone full of confidence, "I will win." His aged face crinkled, his sharp eyes fixed ahead, then he continued, "Perhaps this is the fate of those who possess the ability to control time. We use this power by sacrificing our lives." The image of Medius flashed in his mind. In another development, the group of mutants fought fiercely with the chain-like monsters. Natura, covered in injuries, gasped for breath, raised her head and sighed, "Phew." At this time, the plant's tentacles grew longer and longer, attacking everyone. Karfigar coolly swung a powerful sword strike, cutting them into numerous fragments. He glared unhappily, reminding them, "Controlling plants, this ability isn't suitable for killing people." The plant tentacles revived, charging forward relentlessly, followed by a determined voice, "But I like it, I can admire the beautiful curves of the plants. Let me tell you." The words barely left his mouth when a powerful golden sword swung. Seeing this, Natura's eyes widened in terror, sensing the impending danger. Karfigar swiftly parried each attack, but Natura wasn't so lucky. He was cut thousands of times across his body. Natura was painfully flung away. Blood flowed continuously from his wounds. He gritted his teeth, enduring the pain. Karfigar turned back, glaring at his opponent with a furious, threatening look. "My sword also has curves, Amir." At the same time, a hammer appeared from above, descending. A cool young man appeared before the full moon, diving down from above. He slammed the hammer into the ground, creating a earth-shattering impact. The surrounding rocks exploded into dust and smoke. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Everyone looked at each other with puzzled expressions. This person was none other than Hassan, from the paranormal group. He arrogantly used the hammer in his hand to hit the innocent person. he also slowly said, conceal a user's ability for 24 hours by hitting the top of that person's head hard. Hassan proudly pointed at Karfigar, threatening him, the man known as the Mienji head hunter, Kurega. Suddenly, he glanced at Friatua, confidently ordering, take off the hood of the guy behind, I can't see his head. On this side, Mienji, a paranormal with a mysterious mask, stared at her hands and exclaimed, now. The sword transforming Mienji, with a grotesque face, said, depending on the mask's color, her abilities will change accordingly. With that, she quickly swung her hand, freezing everything in front of her. Natura was the same, unable to dodge in time, his legs were frozen, immobilizing him. Mienji lifted her face and commanded, we'll defeat him first, the current color is blue, ice powers. Natura glanced behind him in terror, asking, Friatua, how long do we have to wait? You're still not ready, Friatua, clutching his chest in pain, honestly replied, a long while longer. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes firm as he said, I'll return to my prime soon. Natura gritted his teeth and continued attacking the growing plant tentacles. The full moon was about to be obscured by dark clouds, the hazy light fading, leaving only faint rays piercing through the gaps in the gloomy clouds. Friatua, with expectant eyes, murmured, a little longer. The surroundings seemed to sink into darkness, bringing a chilling, oppressive silence. Gentle gusts of wind blew, carrying an unusual chill, making the air even heavier. Natura stood, gritting his teeth, enduring the onslaught. Friatua still held on to hope, but his eyes were now dull, muttering, a little longer. The moonlight was mixed with black, no longer pure. Friatua's lips twitched, and he shouted, "A." At this moment, Friatua appeared with a new appearance. His body was strong and full of vitality, and his face was no longer wrinkled. He happily exclaimed, "It's done. Yes, this is it, youth is the best, this is Prayer Tour's current body, 23 years old, physical ability at its peak." He stepped forward, clenching his fists, his tone confident as he said, "Time is on my side now." Hearing this, Medius appeared from nowhere, grinning mischievously. Natura's group were astonished, their eyes wide as they looked at her. Friatua angrily asked, "What are you laughing at?" Medius calmly replied, "Hearing your nonsense is hilarious." He growled, "What nonsense?" Everyone's faces were blank, awaiting the answer. Hassan stood behind, sneering, as if he knew something. Medius' eyes were eerie, as she coldly said, "I'm not on your side." Suddenly, a film appeared in her mind, fast-forwarding to the past. Medius' eyes widened. Because the two people in front were brutally attacked, their faces were swollen, and their bodies were covered in wounds. Natura was beaten until he spat out blood. Friatua, standing beside him, was also badly beaten. Karfigar's face was cold and sharp as he swung his sword to attack. He used the last trick. Hassan's giant hammer was raised high once more. He soared into the air and then brought down a fatal blow on the Natura group. One by one, they were struck on the head with a devastating blow. But they had no strength left to resist. Both of them, their heads bloodied, Medius' voice echoed, "As long as I live." Hassan, cruel and cold, stood there watching them. Medius slowly and smugly stated, "Time will always be on my side." The room was dark and silent, with only a small beam of light from the ceiling lamp shining down. Utoritai leaned back in his chair and pondered something. The secretary suddenly opened the door and entered. The candidate, he opened his eyes and asked, "Have all the reporters gathered?" She immediately denied, "That's not it." The secretary looked astonished, "There's something important you need to see, this is a video that was just uploaded." Utoritai looked at her with curiosity. The video opened with a scene of a child playing. Suddenly, an emergency news bulletin interrupted it. Medius appeared, "Hello viewers, I am Medius." She simultaneously displayed two other faces. "Tonight, I have apprehended the third-floor prisoners, Friatua and Natura. The prisoners are being held in solitary confinement under strict guard, both are currently." Karfigar carried his sword on his shoulder and stood there solemnly. Beside them were Hassan and Mienji, supervised by 3 regional hero representatives. Medius continued to recount her plan. "Initially, I intended to eliminate them on the spot, but since I'm still a civilian, I'll temporarily hand them over to the government. The final decision will depend on who becomes the association president next week." The girl smiled confidently. "Oh, and one more thing about the duel with Utoritai. A proposal in the current situation, let's leave that until after this matter is resolved. I will schedule it with Utoritai. Now, instead of internal disputes, we should focus on apprehending the villains. That cunning smile bloomed on her face. I believe Utoritai will understand this as well. In closing, Medius bowed before the screen. That's all, I am Medius. The screen then went dark. Utoritai frowned after watching the video. The secretary continued to report, "Oh, and there's also a request for a dialogue with Medius." She asked for his opinion while the chairman was deep in thought. How do you want to respond? As a result, Utoritai is now sitting on the sofa and asks, what's their intention? He called out her nickname. The girl rewound time. Medius faced him and replied, "It seems you've realized." Utoritai affirmed, "Not only me, but others with the ability to manipulate time have also noticed." Medius remained calm. "Just as you said, I am someone with the ability to control time." The girl honestly shared, "However, I can't rewind my own time." Utoritai automatically understood and continued, "And the time you can rewind is also limited." He speculated, "A week, if extended, would be 10 days, if you could rewind infinitely, you would have already rewound the time of the prison break." The girl agreed, "That's right." As twilight approached, the world government, to avoid social unrest, concealed the truth even after the Sinca broadcast ended, so I couldn't get accurate information at that time. Medius exuded a mysterious aura. "Just as you guessed, I can rewind time 1 week, that means I know the information a week ahead of others." Utoritai stroked his chin. "A week later, the election results haven't come out yet, have they?" She agreed, "That's right." His usual calm expression vanished as he glared and asked, "Tell me this information, what is your purpose? Is this process necessary for your victory?" She didn't hesitate to share, "During my debates with you, I realized that probing you clumsily or avoiding questions was considered a bad move, so I chose to be straightforward. The indoor lights were few and dim, furthermore." Medius directly brought up something, "We are both time manipulators, aren't we?" She showed a friendly demeanor, "With a senior with the same abilities as you, I want to freely share my story." Utoritai dismissed that intention. "That sounds like you're trying to build a connection with me, but I don't intend to do that." She smiled sadly. "Is that so? It's a shame." Their conversation concluded, and the young woman stood up, promising to meet again at the next debate, but Utoritai held her back. "I have a curious question." He wondered why her symbol was a capybara. "Initially, I thought you had physical abilities." The badge on her coat shone. "The reason?" Medius casually gave a reason, "Because it's cute." Everything afterwards proceeded as it should have, thanks to Medius' achievements. Ajit Lidio Dam Chiu look forward. He is the hero representing the region of Utoritai and comes from India. Next is Alterigo from Africa and a hero representing the region of Lipus. They both looked towards the capybara badge, which had switched sides to Medius. The debate hall was also marked with red. Furthermore, the second debate was cancelled by mutual agreement of the 3 candidates. People were watching the video played by Medius. Sinca didn't feel angry at the unexpected actions of the level 3 prisoners. She frowned, feeling uneasy about the appearance of someone with such troublesome abilities. Sinca's discomfort with Medius' existence grew. Kingston remained focused on transmitting chi. Meanwhile, despite Medius' appearance, he smiled contentedly, sensing the progress of those silently pursuing their own goals. Seo Gongyu let out a hot breath, his eyes shining brightly. The government was also tense, or trying to build a world they deemed right, and remained busy acting. The election venue remained sparsely attended day after day. Time passed, and now it was time for the third debate. Mute held the microphone and opened the event. "Hello, viewers, I'm Mute, the moderator for today's debate. This is the final debate, right?" The timer was set for 60 minutes, as it's the final debate, each candidate will have ample speaking time. The factions were also arranged. The speaking order this time would be reversed from the candidate numbers. The timer was reset, each speech was limited to a maximum of 10 minutes. They also had several limitations, 3 rebuttals. And when the timer hit 0, they would follow the old rules. If the time for all 3 candidates ran out, the debate would end. Mute gestured. "Now, let's invite the candidates." The Lipus Association is in first place. Lipus, wearing her familiar bunny ears, came forward. The girl's eyes were determined for this fight. Lipus. Number 2 is the simple clock symbol. Utoritai, hands in his pockets, strolled out calmly. His face showed no change in expression. Utoritai. And the final candidate, number 3, with the capybara badge. They all looked surprised as Medius entered. Mute also froze for a moment in astonishment. The viewers outside also gasped. A strange, dark hair flickered past. Medius appeared with a completely different look. But her eyes remained the same. Medius began the final debate. The candidates took their places but didn't start immediately. Before we begin, I need to confirm something. Mute pointed at the girl and hesitantly asked, "You are Medius, right?" She replied, "Yes." Medius asked the moderator, "Can I begin?" Mute replied, Yes, let's begin the debate." The young woman confidently began, "Hello to all citizens, I am Medius. Today, in this debate, I want to reveal my ability. This move was completely unexpected. I possess the ability to manipulate time." The citizens outside looked at the screen. Even at a glance, perhaps everyone realized I cannot reverse my own time, but I can reverse the time of the world. She didn't hesitate to reveal that before this third debate, she had reversed time many times to gather information. Medius presented her useful information. "Currently, I know the location of the Alpha World Base and all information about the enemy." Utoritai just silently looked at her without saying anything. Medius continued, "If I am chosen as Guild Master, I will use this information to..." Lipus' eyes widened in shock. "Paint a picture of the city engulfed in flames, attack the Alpha World Base, and start an all-out war. I promise to choose the future with the least civilian casualties." She touched her chest and swore, "And even if I have to sacrifice all my time, I will try to end this as safely as possible. I'm finished." All attention shifted to the next candidate after Medius' speech. It was Utoritai's turn. Only a few seconds passed before he declared, "I've decided." He spoke seriously, endorsing Medius and withdrawing from the race. Lipus' mouth dropped open. "What?" Medius, however, remained completely calm. Going back to the earlier time, she was having a secret meeting with Utoritai. "Why did he call me Utoritai?" He got straight to the point, acting as if he didn't know. "Didn't you see this future? Didn't you know I would say this?" He was very upset. "In the past time, you have gone back countless times, right? Thanks to that, I feel like with just 1 cup of coffee, I have drunk 10,000 cups, so what have you been doing during that time?" Medius smiled and replied, "I will make it clear during the debate." He pondered for a moment before continuing, "Medius, after careful consideration, I've realized." Utoritai stated his opinion, "You're the most suitable person to handle this matter." He had already foreshadowed what he would say, "So I decided to support you in the election and withdraw. With my support, you'll easily win since that rabbit's approval rating is currently rock bottom." Medius didn't celebrate prematurely. "Of course, you have conditions, right?" Utoritai admitted, "That's right." He delved deeper into the matter. "As you know, this guildmaster's term will end once the current issue is resolved. An agreement was reached between them, so, my condition is that you don't run in the next election." Medius also agreed. "All right, Utoritai, I accept your offer." Utoritai tilted his head suspiciously. "You seem to be hiding something else, don't you? I don't believe you'd accept so easily. You're still being friendly, you're trying to help me, why would I deny it?" But Utoritai wasn't finished. "Finally, as a senior in the field of time manipulation, I have some advice for you." He uttered a cryptic sentence, "Don't mistake controlling time with time being on your side." He sincerely advised that time is always fair and strangely terrifying. Medius listened with the smile gone from her lips. "I will remember that." Lipus, at this point, angrily shouted, "Hey, Utoritai." She continued to scold him, "If you were going to do that, why did you even participate in the debate? You should have withdrawn before the debate." He coldly replied, "That's my business." Utoritai didn't even look at her. "And it's still my turn, right?" Lipus retorted, "You said you would withdraw, so what's the point of time for you?" But she was silenced. "I haven't officially withdrawn yet." Utoritai suggested, "Moderator, please mute that rabbit, it's my turn, and it's so noisy I can't speak." The girl holding the microphone was dumbfounded. Lipus questioned, "Noisy?" She angrily retorted, "I have the right to appeal 3 times, and I'm using my time to speak reasonably to you." He frowned, raised his hand and said, "Fine, keep rambling, I'll give you all my time. Moderator, give her all my time and mute me. Please mute everything around me too, I don't want to waste my breath on her anymore." Lipus pointed towards the door. "You greedy old man, are you kidding me? Then get out." Utoritai raised his hand to explain, "If I were greedy, I wouldn't have withdrawn and I wouldn't have given you my time, stupid rabbit. Suddenly, Medius raised her hand. Well, I'm done, can I go now? It's better to use this time to gather more information about the enemy, Lipus snapped. Where are you going? My time isn't up yet. The girl holding the microphone watched the argument in bewilderment. This is called a debate. Sunlight streamed through the window, time passed. The clock struck, and the debate finally ended. The entire city was silent. The results. Medius, with an emotionless face, the Fourth Hero Association president, Medius. The world government immediately confirmed the election results and summoned Medius. She entered the meeting room, the representatives looking solemn, Bizet opposite her. There, Medius shared all the information she had gathered and her predictions for the future. With a serious face, the world government pledged its full support to Medius, sparing no assistance. Simultaneously updating the current situation of Seo Gongyu, Medius's face showed a hint of sadness. Thinking that he had been treated, she spoke. So, after exchanging information, the room was dark with a faint light. She was walking away when she heard a call and turned around. The Fourth Association president. El Guido approached sympathetically, saying, the ability to rewind time, hearing the same thing over and over must be tiring, right? You've experienced that countless times, haven't you? He had a melancholic expression. Although this is the first time I've said this, you've probably heard it many times, Medius, this world has no room for neutrality. She remained silent. El Guido earnestly said, please remember my words. After the conversation with the world government, Medius met with the heroes, urging them to cooperate with her policies. Most heroes agreed to follow Medius. But the biggest problem was Lipus. She put her hand on her forehead, letting out a weary sigh. When she met with Lipus, how many times have we talked now? Lipus coldly replied, really, I feel like this is the first time we're talking. Their conversation echoed in the room. I've refuted that answer countless times. Someone as strong as you can't possibly not feel a little unsettled, so, how are you going to convince me this time? You don't need to convince me. Medius was straightforward. I respect your opinion, Lipus, nevertheless, you're a very important factor. Please hold on to your beliefs, but I hope you'll participate in this battle plan. Lipus indifferently said, you don't need to say that, I'll participate anyway. At the large Hero Association building, Utorotai smiled, hands in his pockets, happily, congratulations on winning the election for the Fourth Association president. Medius politely replied, thank you. Utorotai looked at her expression, it seems you couldn't convince that rabbit, a weak woman, can't even kill a villain. Medius didn't think so, she denied it, you could say she's very firm in her beliefs. He was amused, finish everything quickly, Fourth President, I'm looking forward to your first speech, if you need advice, I'm always available. Medius bowed slightly, hands on her chest, thank you. Medius's emblem appeared, the first speech of the Fourth Hero Association president, Medius. She stood on the podium, hello to all members of the Hero Association, I am Medius, the Fourth Association president. The avatars of the three equality appear inside depicting a bird spreading its wings with the scales of justice. She explains, the reason I summoned you today is to announce the choice of the third generation equality before launching the campaign. The people sitting below looked at him coldly, these are the names I have chosen. Suddenly, the symbolic emblem blazed, emitting a powerful light. Amir Karfagar, a man carrying a sword on his shoulder. Mienji, a girl with red hair. Alterigo, a tall man with a melancholic expression, the alchemist. And Lipus, the rabbit girl behind him. The people below were surprised, many angry, and finally, Medius looked directly at the person in front, Utorotai. A smirk played on her lips, and the team leader will be Utorotai, I'm done. He frowned, his mouth agape in doubt. Medius's selection of the Equalities team left the heroes in a state of flux. Lipus's eyes widened in surprise, what? Karfagar remained silent. At the meeting, Medius smiled and said to Utorotai, Utorotai, after this speech, could you spare me some time, I need some advice. Utorotai frowned slightly, but did not say a word of refusal. Afterward, the two met privately in a rather dark room. Utorotai spoke first, seeming to hide something, so, it's this. Medius replied calmly, I have no intention of hiding anything, if you ask, I will answer. He snorted and said, I have no intention of joining the Equalities and working with those incompatible with my personality, it's nothing but self-inflicted fatigue, That's why I suggested you as the leader, Utorotai asked. You think they'll listen to me? Medius smiled softly. Utorotai, if you join the equalities and shine in this campaign, your chances of winning the upcoming election will be even greater. He replied without hesitation, that's not necessary, I'm the one who will certainly win the next election, that rabbit is no match for me, how can you be so sure? If Lipus participates in this campaign as a member of the equalities and achieves great merit, she could become a threat in the next election. Utorotai frowned, asserting, that's impossible. She continued to present other hypotheses. What if someone else with the same variable ability as me were to run in the next election? He fell silent. Medius continued to persuade him, if you help me in this campaign, I will use my abilities to help you win the next election. Utorotai was quite surprised by this offer. Utorotai, lend me your strength. If you stand with me, your power within the guild will be strengthened, and that will be a great advantage for you in aiming for the position of the next guildmaster. He listened to Medius's words and fell silent in thought. Then softly said, anyway, in the timeline you've experienced, it seems I also operated within the equalities team, the way you haven't reversed time confirms it. I understand, us sitting here talking is a waste of time, fine, I'll support you, but remember your promise to help me in the upcoming election. Medius immediately replied, understood. She fell silent, then with an impassive face said, the more we talk, the more interesting you become. What? Utorotai didn't understand why she said that. Medius slowly explained, most heroes who talk to me ask if they'll survive this campaign, but you haven't asked that even once. Utorotai was slightly surprised, he said, because I can't imagine a future where I die, the future I see is only the presidency. Let's focus on planning the campaign and end this, because the next president will certainly be me, Utorotai gently urged. Medius once again explained the reasons for her choice of the equalities team through her speech, and received the hero's agreement. Thus, the third-generation equalities team was chosen. Medius named this campaign the Annihilation Campaign. To counter the moves from the Hero Association, Sinka sent invitations to the entire world. However, because Medius had prior knowledge of those who accepted Sinka's invitation, she dispatched heroes to eliminate most of them before the letters arrived. This led to very few people joining Sinka's ranks. Canis observed those standing outside and said, fewer than I thought. At that moment, Terra, a physical type, called out to Sinka, hey, alpha girl. Why are we only ranked third tier? Soron, a physical type. Nucius, special system. The special Aquila all looked at them at the same time, we didn't think we were inferior to them. Barris, a man from the physical system, frowned and asked, where's Huang Sungwon? Sinka smiled and said to them, for significant contributions in this battle, I will promote you. If your contributions are extraordinary, you might even receive a reward. As for Mr. Sungwon, he's in separate training. Everyone fell silent, no one spoke, each lost in their own thoughts. Then, in the quiet midnight, in the dark night sky, giant fireballs painted the sky above Sinka's base red. Of course, she wouldn't have missed such a significant commotion. Mienji looked at her fire-creating hands and said, red, seems like my luck isn't bad today. Canis looked at the fireballs in the sky and shouted anxiously, Sinka. Fireballs appeared in the air, she calmly replied, I see them too. In the quiet night sky, extremely large fireballs slowly descended towards their base. Then, Sinka quickly created a large purple shield to block the fireballs. But Team Equality was prepared. Karfigar stood on a giant carrot, sword in hand. He uttered an incantation, arabesque, and used his sword to shatter the purple shield covering that area. They quickly shattered into pieces. The fireballs immediately fell, destroying the entire area. Of course, the level of its attack was extremely terrifying. The impact was enormous. Utorotai and Lipus observed from a short distance. He clicked his tongue and said, if she summoned meteors and added fireballs on top, the power would be even greater, but she refused to do so. Lipus retorted, I've said it many times, the power would be too great, causing harm to our heroic allies. Utorotai glanced at her, if your teammates die that easily, they should quit being heroes. Lipus was extremely upset by his words, you should quit instead. Hey, I'm the team leader. Just then, Therapir appeared from behind and said, come on, stop arguing. Let's move to the coordinates the chairman provided. Utorotai smiled slightly and asked them, all right, everyone ready. Let's go. Wipe out the cancerous cells, the Hero Association launches, the extermination campaign officially begins. This is the Media's Council of Advisors. Mute, the sound-dampening special system, is in charge of security. She can create a soundproof space to prevent eavesdropping. Prof, the protective special system, is responsible for security, preventing any assassination attempts on Medius. Edipio, the genius mechanical engineer special system, is in charge of communication, responsible for the communication equipment used to convey instructions. This Council of Advisors held a meeting and concluded that without information about Sinka's destination, we cannot act. Mute crossed her arms and asked, "Strange, how did we manage to use the EMP attack in Ruculus prison? Is there an inside informant? That information?" Medius spoke seriously, "After killing Sinka, we will use lie detection to find out." She placed her hands on the table, calling everyone back to the meeting. "Now let's focus on the mission." "Yes, President of the Association." Medius dedicated 2 years of her life to preparing for this mission. She used that time to think alone. Medius lay on the chair, her arms wrapped around her pillow. She slowly chewed cotton candy, eating and drinking, etc. Medius held a stack of papers. Try to prevent the death of even one hero. That's the motivation behind this plan. Therefore, she plans to rewind time whenever a dangerous situation arises. Her expression was slightly tired. She raised her hand to hold her head. "This ability is so inconvenient. It would be great if I could rewind my own time while keeping my memories. It's truly an extraordinary ability. Isn't she being too greedy?" Medius kept rewinding time and created the future she wanted with the Council of Advisors. She had rewound time too many times. Is she dreaming of a perfect future? Utorotai slightly bent over, put one hand in his pocket and said, "But I told her that time is fair." A purple light burst forth, rewinding time endlessly. A circle was created like a mirror, reflecting Medius's image. However, the future she desires won't appear. Medius has sent out powerful heroes to fight against the enemy. A sound rang out. "The area representative hero, please handle the level 2 villain, has accepted the invitation with level 3 villain or higher." "What?" Lipus stared blankly ahead, her face wrinkling as she asked, "She's the villain I'm supposed to handle." The girl looked disgruntled. "The equality members will handle them." "Ugh, how rude." "That woman's name is censura, a special system, censorship. She believes the world needs a healthy mindset. Anything she deems inappropriate, she photographs and imprisons within those pictures." Censura grumbled angrily, "Ugh, so rude, so rude, so rude." Lipus bit her lip, her hands clenching into fists. "Wasn't Medius supposed to have put me here to deal with her, because I would have an advantage? She's clearly a terrible match for me." She raised both hands, a beam of light appeared along with a rabbit cloak enveloping her body. Lipus tugged at the cloak and asked the woman, "Hey, is this okay?" "No, no, why not?" Her face worried as she asked again, "The standard, what is the standard?" Censura immediately yelled, "It's what I think. How could you understand? It changes depending on my feelings in different situations." The woman held her camera as if preparing to shoot. "She simply has the body of something that needs to be censored. Why is she wearing that everywhere? Is she a pervert?" Lipus gritted her teeth in anger, "You damn." She swung her arm, using her power to send Censura crashing to the ground. "This is what I want, you know, kook." Lipus continued angrily, "I like that rabbit, so." She raised her hand and spoke into it, "Medius, are you there?" "Yes." "Lipus, what's wrong?" She yelled angrily, "Didn't you say I would have the upper hand here? You're trying to push me into a disadvantageous situation to get me killed, aren't you? You're an equality member, and you're complaining this much about handling a level 3 villain. Shut up." Censura lay unconscious on the ground. "You wouldn't kill the villain, right? That's why I was given the task of handling a villain who is unlikely to kill others. She's someone we won't have problems with, even if you let her escape." Lipus spoke up, "Are you kidding me?" Furthermore, she looked at the camera lying on the ground. Among the pictures she held captive were ordinary citizens. If we kill her arbitrarily, those civilians are likely to die. Lipus silently observed and listened to Medius. "That's why I chose you to deal with her. Do you understand now?" She lifted Censura and said to the other side, "This troublesome kid, but I'm the adult now, shut up." A full moon shone brightly in the sky, its soft light illuminating the world below. Karthagar, his face ferocious, approached, his hand gripping his sword. A voice rang out, "What luck! He looked up at the girl sitting on the building. She looked down and said to Karthagar, "I've wanted to meet you." He calmly looked at her, Amir. She leaped from the heights. "I didn't expect to meet both individuals called sword gods. Today is certainly a special day, a good day to die. Although I asked to learn from the other sword god, I was refused because she said she hadn't yet achieved the swordsmanship she desired." Karthagar continued to stare silently, Amir. She drew her sword, light shone around her. "What is a sword? I have slain countless lives, yet I still do not understand. Those killed without mercy, for I sought enlightenment." Drops of blood splattered onto his face, however. "I found enlightenment from an unexpected place." Her eyes blazing red, she raised her weapon, the sword. The sword in her hand, and her body were enveloped by a surge of power. Karthagar calmly drew his own sword. She lunged, her red eyes flashing. He stood still, using his ultimate technique. She was instantly critically injured, spitting out blood. Karthagar finally spoke. It wasn't a tool she wielded for herself, but one she wielded for others. In a corner of the city, under a dreamy purple night sky, a hand was raised to shield a head. Utorotai stood still, observing something. He raised his head, looking at a figure standing on a building. "That must be the one I'm responsible for." The guy glanced at Utorotai and raised his voice to ask, "You are Utorotai, you are a bit old, but despite that, your fighting spirit is quite good. It's a shame Amir isn't here, but you're welcome." "Hey," his voice made the man stop. Utorotai reached for his tie. "I hate trashy things that talk back as if they're big shots." He yanked off his tie. "Words are wasted, I'll kill you, trash." The mutant took Utoratai's punch to the stomach, his hand. His hand opened, revealing sharp claws. He tried to swing back, but Utoratai dodged. The mutant clutched his stomach and praised, "That's a heavy punch, a good one indeed," and as predicted, speed increases with time acceleration, fast, very fast. Utorotai raised an eyebrow, puzzled by his muttering. The mutant drew his sword, the feeling of slashing something valuable, but his opponent interrupted, "What the hell is this trash talking about?" Utorotai informed him, "I haven't used my time abilities yet." The mutant was stunned. "What, just now?" Before he could finish, he took another kick to the face. "I simply dodged, trash." Blood sprayed from him as the mutant's body flew back. His head bleeding, causing him to groan in pain. Utorotai scoffed, "Transformed and still couldn't dodge that. Enhanced types have their own levels, trash." He suddenly whispered, "If I actually used my time abilities here." The mutant hurriedly shouted, "Wait." But Utorotai ignored him and charged, accelerating 4 times faster. The enhanced mutant's head exploded. "Wait, what?" Blood rained down on his face. "You think you could counterattack with more time? Get lost, trash." Thus, the hero's battle ended successfully. The 3 great equalities had successfully defeated the level 3 criminal. The girl with the camera had been trapped in a sphere by Lipus. Lipus was standing there alone when a voice suddenly called out. Utorotai suddenly appeared, causing the girl to jump and scream. Then she recognized Utorotai. He scolded her, "This crazy rabbit." "I knew it," she questioned. "Knew what?" The criminal Lipus was holding was still unconscious. "Why didn't you kill that camera-wielding woman but brought her along?" Utorotai rolled up his sleeve, removing his protective gear. "I'll send her to hell," but Lipus protested, "Nonsense. The old man didn't give in, then let me blow away the protective gear." Lipus, unafraid, created a magic circle. "Try it." However, someone transmitted a message to them, "Sir Utorotai, please calm down." It was Medius talking to them. "There are civilians trapped inside her protective gear, just take her back to prison, then deal with her later." He was still dissatisfied. "What if she escapes?" Medius assured him, "Sir Utorotai, in all the futures I've seen, that camera-wielding woman has never become a variable." He asked again, "She'll die within a week?" Medius replied, "I haven't seen that yet." She elaborated on her methods. "Currently, I'm not monitoring day by day, but hour by hour." Utorotai exclaimed, "Hour by hour, Medius, how are you painting the future?" She answered with an illustration, "If you're sketching a large painting, even if you make mistakes, you have to keep drawing until it's finished as quickly as possible. Then the drawing was erased. If you keep drawing a little, then erasing, drawing wrong and erasing again, when will it ever be finished?" She was extremely confident in her plan. "Even if it takes longer, I won't let any hero die." Utoritai looked at his blood-soaked arm and reminded her, Medius, no future is perfect, don't try to carry it all alone, heroes dying is inevitable. She remained resolute, even so, I'll do everything I can. He didn't argue anymore, you're the guild master now, so I'll listen to you. He still wouldn't let the criminal go, but then let's look at the future a week from now, based on that, we'll decide this girl's fate. Medius softly said, understood. In her mind flowed the bloody memories of the heroes. It repeated more and more. Medius' eyes widened in surprise. Then she reported, Sir Utoritai, after experiencing the future and returning, she doesn't become a variable. And she confirmed again, after being apprehended, she'll be imprisoned without incident. He accepted, all right, let's drop it. Those in the strategy room silently listened to Utoritai, then. He seriously questioned, will we win this war? Medius hesitated, victory seemed possible, but if things went as they were, some heroes would die. He wasn't too surprised, it was inevitable. Medius still aims for his own goal, Utoritai, if there is a way to save them, I should try, even if it consumes all my time. He sighed wearily, you. Then Utoritai turned away, but still had to leave some time for my election. They ended the conversation, understood. Lipus was curious about the election, what were they talking about? He turned and curtly ordered, quiet, rabbit, we're moving to the next area. Those in the meeting room were also actively discussing, Guildmaster, are we sure of victory? Victory seems certain, so let's focus on minimizing hero casualties. Medius shared with them, but there was a strange point. She pondered even as the entire Alpha World villain roster was wiped out in the battle. Each name she mentioned, stiffness. Then a black tear appear. Also in the villain group, a calm-looking individual, Aura. And the girl with madness, Sinka. Finally, the one they couldn't ignore, Huang Sungwon. She uttered something that shocked those present, to not appear. What were they discussing? If so, almost half of the main forces hadn't joined the battle yet. Could they have run away? That's suspicious. Thankfully, this time I followed Utoritai's advice. They became even more urgent. We should push the process forward and then look further into the future. Their side situation was going very well. The heroes followed Medius's instructions, one by one, wiping out each villain. In a multi-story building, gloomy and sparsely populated, Sinka appeared through a mirror, everyone ready. The gifted individuals all looked towards her, executioners. She was serious, with a bright light in her eyes. Surely you all feel it, right? The flow of time is unusual. They listened silently. Medius, he mistakenly believes time is on his side. Her spatial gate emitted countless mysterious dark auras, my lords. Sinka turned away and instructed them, but time is truly our ally, let's go and teach them a lesson. Aquila nodded, yes, my lord. The middle-aged man spoke, cigarette in his mouth, Seo Gongyu, the one who defeated Sungwon. Maledity cracked his knuckles, when will he arrive? Tatsu Jin raised an eyebrow, it's been a long time since we had a proper fight, Amir's here already. Sinka also gradually disappeared behind the gate. They began the battle, their shared goal the glory of Alpha, the 4th floor special forces team deployed. Hassan breathed a sigh of relief, all right. He looked smug, having successfully controlled. Pocket stammered, so smooth, huh? She questioned, Hassan, I really didn't need to do anything. He replied with an annoyed expression, yeah, it's best if you don't use your powers, it's hard to hold back. Hearing that, she felt a little resentful, you're being unreasonable. Hassan confidently stated, hey, the 2nd floor was easy. Pocket probed, I guess those from Equality will handle floors 3 and 4, right? He replied, that's right. He seemed a little bored, and will probably only stop at the 2nd floor. From afar, a man dressed like a cowboy approached them. Holding a cigar, puffing it with a contemptuous expression, Barris greeted them, pleased to meet you, heroes. The two were shocked, oh, shoot. He was Barris, a physical enhancement type. Barris was one of the members of the villain website Tragedy, a hero bounty hunter. She couldn't keep calm, trembling so much that she couldn't control her speech. 4444, floor 4, Hassan reminded her, calm down, Pocket. He clearly showed his contempt for the enemy, we have Medius, there's definitely a plan in place, floor 4 or 5, one swing of my hammer will do. Barris just looked without saying anything. Hassan planned on the spot, let's work together, somehow, we need to rip his hat off. then hit him hard on the head, just once. He was doubtful, the head. It seemed Barris had realized something. "Oh, you're the one who targets the head to seal abilities," he replied. "That's right." He wondered, "How much is the bounty on this area's hero? I remember it being quite generous." He proposed, "I've always wanted to ask you something." Hassan felt puzzled. Barris took off his hat, pointing it towards his head. "What about this? I have 2 cowlicks." Hassan was surprised. 2 cowlicks, 2 cowlicks." He nodded. "That's right." He doubted, "So what does that have to do with my ability? Doesn't a person with 2 whorls of hair have 2 tops of their head? That means you have to hit 2 places." Pocket stood aside and watched the 2 men confront each other. He argued, "What, people only have 1 top of their heads?" Was he arguing like that? Didn't bald people have no top of their heads? Hassan's explanation was absurd. "Who doesn't have a head? On the contrary, I prefer fighting bald guys because their heads are so clearly visible." Barris exclaimed, "So, that's new information," he teased. "Before you poke fun at bald people, you should go see a doctor." Hassan looked bored. 2 hair whorls are a sign of early-stage hair loss. He was speechless after hearing that. Barris was a little angry. He declared, "We will kill you in the most painful way." I wondered why. He began to brandish his gun. "You told me something I didn't want to know, and it made me feel humiliated." Recognizing Barris's movement, I and Pocket got into position. "Pocket, get ready." "Yes, sir." She began to concentrate her power. Hassan and Barris watched in surprise. "Oh my God, that's terrifying." She transformed into a giant rabbit. Pocket, in her transformed state, had an angry expression. "Ready." Barris seemed amused. "A physical enhancement system, this will be an interesting fight." Kingston explained, "Physical enhancement systems are different from special ability or summoning systems, which usually manipulate energy externally. Most people with physical enhancement abilities only control energy within their bodies. I listened attentively to my master. Therefore, many in this system believe that the power of their abilities is predetermined from birth, leading to laziness or even abandoning training." Kingston described that power as a container, but it's actually because their container is too small. Energy is like water. When the container is small, the energy spills out, and once it exceeds control, it becomes useless. Kingston instructed seriously, "But if you know how, we can refine and expand this container through training. You will refine your container with me." Gangyu's eyes didn't change after his master's declaration, and he began learning to control his energy. "Oh, and one more thing, when reaching a certain level of energy control." Barris quickly drew his gun. The 2 of them were mentally prepared. The bullet was fired at an extremely high speed. Hassan and Pocket coordinated. They dodged his attack. The powerful bullet pierced through several large buildings behind them. He and she witnessed that power and were a bit surprised. Barris saw that the 2 were unharmed and was a bit calm. Silent. Kingston's lesson is that one can infuse chi into objects. A rope appeared next to the gun. He grabbed the rope and threw it towards me and her. The rope hit us both, and tightly bound us together, and we both fell to the ground. He took control and looked smug. "Now you can't move anymore, because I've infused the rope with energy. It's stronger than steel. And now," Barris had a sinister expression, "I'll scalp you." A shocking sound echoed. Then, a stern-faced man appeared, flying in to punch Barris in the stomach. He was caught off guard and hit, spitting blood. Hassan and Pocket were shocked. It was Gangyu. He punched him far away. Kingston spoke, "Not bad, your growth rate is quite fast." He laughed happily. "Keep feeling the energy in your body and move that way." He raised his hand to his forehead and looked into the distance. "Let me see." He observed, Barris's body was surrounded by a powerful energy. "Oh, this guy is the perfect opponent to start with. Not bad at all." Kingston instructed, "Now try mixing your special ability system into your attack, just like how we've practiced." He instructed, "If you kill him in one blow, it's considered a failure, but at least use 3 moves or more." Gangyu understood. Barris stood up and adjusted his hat. Treating me like a punching bag, that's." Kingston put his hands on the ground and sat down. "All right, I'll observe here." Sitting behind the 2 bound people, he commanded, "Go on, my disciple."